Hello everyone. Welcome back to today's session. I hope you had a wonderful day so far. So, before starting with today's session, I want all of you to be relaxed and take a deep breath. Okay, once everyone is relaxed, please type down relax in the chat box. Come on, I can see lots of you all joining. Yes, have you all taken your seats? Relaxed down? Come on. Ready? So you can type ready in the chat box. So today we are going to revise about clauses. So can you type clauses in the chat box? Yes. Come on, quickly type down clauses in the chat box. Great. So before starting with clauses, we should know what is a clause. Okay. What is a clause? Clause is a group of words that forms a part of a sentence and contains a subject, a predicate, and a verb. Now, what is the difference between a phrase and a clause? Usually we get confused between a phrase and a clause. So let me clear that doubt for you all. Phrase does not have a subject and a verb, but clause has both the subject and the verb. So let us look at few examples of phrases and clauses. First example of phrase is best friend. You can type it down in the chat box as I'm saying of the phrase examples. The second one is on the horizon. The third one is after the devastation. The next one is because of that glittering smile. So in the phrase examples, you can see there is no subject, there is no verb. Now let us look at the example for clauses. The first example is because he gave her a puppy. The next one is when the saints go marching in. The third example is I waited for him. So from this example, can you write down in the chat box what is the subject in this sentence? I waited for him. What is the subject? Come on, quickly type it down. Yes. I can see your responses. Yes, I is the subject here. Come on, let's have a look at the next one. He wants to become an engineer. Okay, so you can see in the phrase we are having no subject and a verb, but in the clause we are having a subject as well as a verb. Now let us see what are the different types of clauses. The first one is the independent clause or the main clause. And the second one is the dependent clause, or we can also call it as a subordinate clause. Now let us learn what is an independent clause. So type independent clause in the chat box. Come on, quickly. You can even write the short form IC for independent clause. So an independent clause has a subject and a predicate and expresses a complete thought by itself. It can stand alone as a sentence. Conjunction can't be included in the clause. Okay, so independent clause has a complete meaning to it. Now, what is the structure for an independent clause? It starts with the subject followed by the verb and a predicate. So let's have a look at an example. I am a student. So in this sentence, I is our subject, am is our verb, and a student is the predicate. Okay, is that clear to everyone? Come on. Now let's look at what is a dependent clause. Come on, type dependent clause in the chat box quickly. You can even write DC. Okay. Now let us learn what is a dependent clause. It has a subject and a predicate and a verb, but does not express a complete thought. It cannot stand alone as a sentence. That means it is dependent on the independent clause. It doesn't have a complete sentence to itself, complete meaning to the sentence. Now let us look at the structure of dependent clause. It starts with the subordinate conjunction plus the subject plus the verb. So let's have and look towards the example. when she was waiting outside. So here you can see when is our subordinate conjunction. She is the subject and waiting is the verb here. Now, what are the different types of dependent clause? Okay, dependent clause also has three types. So, can you type types of dependent clause, types of DC in the chat box for me quickly? Yes, types of DC. So, let's have a look. There are three types. The first one is noun clause, the second one is adverb clause, and the third one is adjective clause. Now let us see what is a noun clause. The noun clause will always begin with the words like how, that, when, where, what, why, which, who. Okay, you can type down any two words in the chat box for me quickly. Any two words from this noun clause? How, that, when, where, what, why, which, who. Great, great. Come on. Now let us see few examples of noun clause. What you told me was a lie. The problem is that I have lost it. The next example, why he left is a mystery. So here you can see that these sentences are starting with a noun clause or even it is in the middle of the sentence. Okay. Now let us move towards the next clause, that is the adjective clause. So can you all quickly type down adjective clause in the chat box? Come on, write adjective clause in the chat box. Oh great, I can see everyone writing it. Now let us see what are relative pronoun and relative adverb. So under relative pronoun, we get different words like that, who, which, whom, whose. And under relative adverb, we have when, where, why. So our adjective clause will always start with these words. Okay. Let's have a look at an example. She forgot to tell you the date when she will return. Rekha bought the jewelry that Rima sold. Do you know the girl who is wearing a pink dress? So these are the examples of adjective clause. So you can see that we have used the adjective clauses here. Come on, now let us move to the next clause, that is an adverb clause. So can you type adverb clause in the chat box for me? Quickly. Yes, type adverb clause. Great. Now, usually the adverb clause will always answer your sentence by asking the question how, when, where, why. Now, let us see. These adverb clauses begins with few words and those words are because, while, as, if, when, although, as if, after, since, unless, until, before, so on. Okay, quickly write any three adverb clause in the chat box for me. Come on. So these are the adverb clauses which you will get in the dependent clause. Okay, so the adverb clauses usually begins with all these words. Come on, I can see all of you writing the adverb clause in the chat box. Great. Now let us look at the example. Tim can enter the house after Tom leaves. We went to the beach because we had a holiday. She left the theater before the movie ended. So you can see that these are the adverb clauses we used in the sentence after, because, before. Okay, I hope that till here everyone is with me. Come on, quickly for me in the chat box, you're going to write down which are the dependent clauses which we have learned till now. Come on. There are three dependent clauses. What are they? Quickly type it down in the chat box for me. Yes. Correct. First is the noun clause. Second is an adjective clause. Third is an adverb clause. Very well done. Now let's get ready for an activity. Now what you all will be doing is you will be identifying the clauses, whether it is an independent clause or it is a dependent clause. So for independent clause, you can write IC, and for dependent clause, you can use the term DC. So here comes the first sentence for you all on the screen. So get ready. Jerry wants to be back in Mumbai this week, but Tom thinks he should stay back. So this is your sentence. Come on, quickly type it down in the chat box. What do you think? Which is an independent clause and which is the dependent clause? Come on, quickly. I'll give you 5 seconds. Within 5 seconds, I want you all to write it down. IC and DC from this sentence. Very good. Yes. Others, come on quickly. Okay. So let us look at the answer. Jerry wants to be back in Mumbai this week is an independent clause here. But Tom thinks he should stay back is the dependent clause in this sentence. Very well done, students. Come on. Now get ready for the next sentence. Okay, eyes on the screen, and here comes the next sentence. While the lion crossed the road, the tourist stayed inside. Now look at the sentence carefully. Which is DC, that is the dependent clause, and which is an independent clause in this sentence? Quickly. And remember that it is not necessary always the sentence will start with an independent clause. It might start with dependent clause as well. Oh, great. I can see your answers coming already in the chat box. Let us have a look at the answer. While the lion crossed the road is the dependent clause. The tourist stayed inside is an independent clause. Well done, students. Come on. Now get ready for the next sentence. I looked for my missing baseball, which was under the table. Come on, tell me. Which is an independent clause here and which is a dependent clause here? Quickly, type your answers in the chat box. Use the short form IC and DC. Come on, quickly. Yes. Very good. You all are typing it down. You're very fast, super fast, students. Come on. Yes. And the answer is, I looked for my missing baseball. It is an independent clause. Which was under the table is the dependent clause. Super. Now here comes the next sentence. Get ready. They ran to the beach because there was a storm. Quickly let me know which is an independent clause and what is the dependent clause here. Quickly. They ran to the beach because there was a storm. This is very easy. Oh, great. Yes, correct. They ran to the beach is the independent clause because there was a storm is the dependent clause. Okay, they ran to the beach is an independent clause because there was a storm is the dependent clause. Super. Now, the next sentence on the screen. When I was young, I had a doll. Come on, quickly tell me which is an independent clause and which is the dependent clause. You can use IC and DC. Quickly. Yes. Come on, students. Speed up. Correct. When I was young is the dependent clause here. I had a doll is an independent clause. Very well done. Now the next sentence, here it comes. When the president arrives, he will give the speech. Now quickly tell me. When the president arrives, he will give the speech. What is the correct clause here? Which is the independent clause and which is the dependent clause? Okay, and I can see the answers coming down in the chat box. Yes, so you all have understood, I think, it seems. Come on. When the president arrives is the dependent clause here and he will give the speech is an independent clause. Superb, kids. Good job. Now, let us get ready for one more activity. What do you think? Should we do match the activity? Yes, match the column. So, get ready. Type ready in the chat box. If you're ready for the next one. Okay, so here comes the match column on your screen, column A and column B. What are you all going to do? You're going to write for first sentence, which is the correct answer. Okay, for second, third, fourth, fifth, simultaneously you're going to use this. Now, I'll give you 10 seconds. Within that 10 seconds, you're going to tell me and you are going to finish the entire sentence. Complete the entire sentence. Look at the sentences carefully and complete it. Eat your breakfast. Tim sat down on the sofa. We will go to the fair. It was snowing. The duck jumped into the water. So column A is the sentences. There are lots of sentences in column A and simultaneously in column B. Come on. I want your answers in the chat box. Yes. Eat your breakfast. What is the correct sentence to finish it? Okay. Great. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's have a look towards the correct answers. Eat your breakfast. The correct answer is before your friends arrive. The second one, Tim sat down on the sofa because he was tired. The third one, we will go to the fair when you feel like it. Fourth one, it was snowing in the morning. Fifth one, the duck jumped into the water as it was afraid of the peacock. So these are the correct and the complete sentences. Well done, students. Superb. So now, what is the next task? You can see the Google Form link is already pasted in the chat box. Click on the Google Form link. You're going to fill in your details. Click on the correct answers and you're going to submit the form. Quickly, come on. I'll give you all 10 seconds. Within that 10 seconds, finish it up. Come here, type down done or put a thumbs up in the chat box. I want everyone to fill it out. Yes, I can see a lot of you sending thumbs up in the chat box. Great. Quickly, come on. Yes, fill it up. Send the form. Send thumbs up in the chat box. Great. So I hope that you all have learned and have understood the clauses clearly. And please don't forget to like, share and subscribe the channel. Till that time, bye-bye. Stay safe and stay healthy.